We're going to start talking about Excel. I mean, it's fairly obvious why, but just quick show of hands. Is there anybody here that's going to admit to having no Excel at all in their organization? And alternatives to Excel count. So we do have a customer who I have not seen Excel yet, but I have seen green bar papers and stock of it in manual ledgers. They're out there. Yeah, it's interesting. But most people have Excel. Most of the people we hire, people we work with, also use it. So it's a great place to get started. And what you're going to find in any company of a certain size, you're always going to have, even a room like this, there's always going to be 4 or 5 people that will take it upon themselves to say, look, I need to track some data. I need to see what's happening compared to last year. And they're just going to organically do something. They'll do it in Excel. You know, that's most of the time. So it's a great place to get started. You have it, doesn't cost a lot of money. It's a great place to think through what the process should look like for performance management. Should it look a certain way? Who should have it? Things like that. You can address a lot of questions at that point in the process. But obviously, as the bullets get further down, we're starting to see some of the issues. If you're trying to really build a system on Excel for a large company, you're going to have a lot of problems synchronizing across the organization, doing version management, so different people, they leave for work, they make a copy. They're not talking about the same version of the data as somebody else is. Errors, anybody can go in and readjust the format, readjust the numbers. And so it can be limited as it grows, as you go beyond the very basic needs.
Can I inject a thought here? Just a question, Rob, I believe we have a book back there on Excel. What is who knows what a pivot table is? Who is at an expert level at pivot tables? Another show of hands, please. Rob, your call. Who should be getting our book on? They can put it to use.
Closest one, right?
Yeah,
Trying to be
closest
efficient.
one would work. There you go. This is, if I may, just like really quickly, and this is we can email you. This is, there are a couple of books. We have one more coming down the road, but this is something we use internally here. It's called the Balanced Scorecards and Operational Dashboards with Microsoft Excel. We kind of use this in client engagements, but it's of value to professionals who are at the expert level with building using these tool sets. So congrats, Linda.
Oh, thank you.
It's going to connect nicely with your Budget Maestro application.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks, JT.
All right, and soon about Budget Maestro, there'll be a slide we'll ask you to talk about in exchange for the book, of course. It's coming up next, actually. In fact, Budget Maestro is one of the examples of what we're talking about here. There's applications that are built to address some of the issues we spoke about with Excel that really go after the planning process specifically, but it's a big part of performance management. What they do that Excel doesn't, so it's a bit of a contrast, is they make sure things are consistent. There's standards. So if somebody's developing a budget for IT, they're doing something very similar to somebody developing a budget for sales. And there's going to be staff to think about, maybe different expense categories after that, but you don't want somebody to to use totally different assumptions for things like pay increases, benefit costs, salary levels, things like that. So you can get these tools to enforce that consistency so that across the organization you don't have to worry that somebody's going to do something different and end up with a number that doesn't make any sense. Because they're centralized, right? Everybody's using the same system. A lot easier for the team to collaborate. So Rob goes in the morning, does his piece. I go in, I see what Rob's done, I change it, add to it, I do my piece. Sasan can see the combined results. So it's almost seamless, right? So I mean, there's different ways to lock down some pieces, but it's not the challenge we have with Excel where things are moving around in email or on shared drives and you're not quite sure what's happened. One of the things that's really important here, audit trails. So who's done what and when. So Rob put his numbers in, JT overrode it, Sasan can see that trail of changes, so he can make decisions that way. And the other thing that makes collaboration useful is the next day JT doesn't have any rights to edit Rob's stuff because Rob's complaint is a son, now all of a sudden I'm locked out, right? And it matters. I mean, if somebody's responsible for a capital plan, right? Maybe other people shouldn't be able to edit it, or a personnel plan. Maybe HR is in charge of some pieces of that. So that's really important because that's hard to do in Excel. So version control we touched on a little bit. Integration to legacy applications. We're going to see a slide where there's a whole bunch of examples, just one solution, dozens and dozens of integrations. It's really hard to replicate that manually in Excel. And obviously, these solutions, if you get to pick and choose, so you can pick something that's built on the latest technology, if web enablement, if using the cloud's important, that's at your fingertips, as opposed to trying to build a solution from scratch where you're kind of relying on the people you have, or can get your hands on what skills they have. Here you can just pick the solution that fits your model best.
Show the next slide.